What's up, guys? Azim Rakes here, bringing you today's episode of the Wager Rakes MLB Show. We haven't been able to get you an MLB show for the last couple of days simply because we have all been very stingent on plays. Not a lot of valuable plays these past few days. That being said, there wasn't much that we could have done for shows, anyways. But today, I have a pretty nice card. I have a pretty full card, and I know Sam from Source Podcast 11. He's part of the duo there, and he has a pretty full card too. So that being said, we see a lot of value today. We're going to try to discuss as many as we can. The show did start 30 minutes before the first play for the evening game, so we'll see how many we can fit into here. But with that being said, let's not waste too much time. Let's jump right in. So I'm going to go with my first play, and it's going to be the Cardinals Cubs under 8. I'm
I
playing
like
this.
that.
Oh, didn't you have a play on this too, on this game?
Oh, actually, I have a lean. I have the no runs first inning, so that kind of goes along with the under as well.
Nice.
Keep it low scoring from the beginning.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I don't. I know like Hendricks and Wainwright have decently high ERAs with like a 3.65 and 3.71, but it's not. Even with that being said, we're looking at a correction over here with the last game being 9. They went over, they hit 13 runs, and it's still at 8, given two pitchers with decently high enough ERAs. So this is like a huge like indication to me at least, where Vegas is saying, basically Vegas, like when it doesn't make sense at all, it makes the perfect sense in the world. That's something I've learned over my years. And so for this to be recorrected and moved down to 8 just doesn't make sense. Well, then I'm going to take the 8 because Vegas has to know something here that we don't, or that we're overlooking, whatever the case may be. And so I'm going to stick with my gut, my correction play here, and I'm going to take the under 8 on the Cardinals Cubs.
I really like that actually because on my sheet I'm looking at some numbers, and they have both teams in the last 2 weeks have had below average hitting numbers. Definitely in terms of WRC plus, both of them are under 100, so below average. And you have 2 good pitchers on the mound. So, I mean, I understand that both bullpens are kind of lacking, and I think that might be where some of the over money starts flowing in when you look at yesterday's game, because the Cardinals were up 6-1 before a 6-run inning in the 9th by the Cubs, which made that over hit and pushed that line a little crazy. Now, like, it's kind of like, do you think that that's going to happen again with the bullpens? I just don't necessarily think that. I don't think so. There are too many talented guys in the Cardinals bullpen for that to happen again. Gallegos and Reyes should have some shutdown innings, and I expect Wainwright to be able to go 6 or 7. So I don't see really where that multiple run inning comes in for either team.
Right. And yeah, I mean, with your NRFI lean, I become even more confident on it because you love to see games start off with 0 runs scored in the first. It's just so much pointing towards the over, in my opinion, given their last recent. I mean, even, like you said, that they've been hitting below average, but even looking at their past like few totals, they've been hitting overs out of nowhere. It hasn't made sense. The correction, I personally wouldn't correct it. I also wouldn't move it up to 10 or anything, and I would keep it at 9. But the fact that it was corrected makes me believe that Vegas knows something that we're just like overlooking here.
Absolutely.
And I think you have a spot on analysis of this situation, and I think that's what most people might be overlooking. Money is coming in on, or not money, bets are coming in on the over, but the line stays at under 8. So I'm going to take that under 8. And
love that.
What's your first play, by the way?
My first play is going to be the Los Angeles Dodgers. Right now it's at minus 152. I got it at minus 153, so not much change there. I think this is a very interesting game because I have a couple friends who are San Francisco Giants fans, and I've been watching them very closely over the season. I've been betting on them a lot, which has been one of the most profitable strategies in the league. So thanks to them for that. And they usually play the Dodgers really well. But the problem comes in when you just look at sometimes the more talented team is going to win the game. And I'm not taking anything away from the San Francisco Giants. If you listen to our last show, I said that they're going to hold the lead in the NL West for the rest of the season and win the division. But that being said, it doesn't mean you can win every single game. Logan Webb is on the mound for the Giants. I think he's faced the Dodgers a couple times this season before, and if not, they've definitely seen enough of him. He has very basic stuff. He's fastball, slider, changeup guy.
Right.
And the Dodgers have too many talented hitters, especially coming back into the lineup, and too much experience against this Giants roster that they're not going to be fooled by any
Right.
pitcher at this point. And their numbers in the last 2 weeks suggest that they're finally getting on that hot streak that they're supposed to be getting on because of the Dodgers. Their hard hit percentage is almost 45%. Their ISO plus is 152, and the MLB average is 100. So they're hitting above standard. And when you look at Julio Urias, he's faced the Giants before and done pretty well. But more than that, their bullpen has faced the Giants many times, and their bullpen's done a very good job. So I think the Dodgers, especially at home here, in a game against the Giants, where if you remember one of the last times the Giants were there,
Right.
the Giants won on a robbed home run that Mike Tauchman took back to steal the game and go to extra innings, which the Giants later won. So the Dodgers are out for revenge. So are the home fans, and I think minus 153 is kind of a low number considering that we're going to have a lot better matchups coming in the next days. It makes me wonder what the price is going to be when there's like a Gosman showing tomorrow.
Right. No, I really like the number here. I'm a big Faves guy. And one thing I've learned is with the Dodgers, and this is going to be contrary to what you just said, but one thing I've learned with the Dodgers is that when they're sitting around minus 160 or minus 150, they tend to lose those games. But that's because they're usually resting players. That's usually because they're, not really caring for that series. They've pretty much won the majority of the games in that series. In this situation, they're going against the Giants. I like you said, and I love these spots. It's a revenge spot. It's something that they're going to want to, just show out for the fans for and just come back and, tell the Giants, that there's still somebody to be messed with.
Yeah. This is
Especially
not
after
just
that
any other
loss.
game for them.
Right, exactly. And that minus 150 isn't there because they're resting players. It's because they're playing the Giants who play them very well. That's why it's at minus 150, and that's the
Exactly.
cheapest you'll ever find the Dodgers. I really like the value on that line. I personally would have it higher, but again, you have to consider public perception. If the line was higher, people are
Yeah.
taking the Giants
I
given
have it
the
at minus
past season.
170 in my projections, so I
Right,
see a lot of
and that's
value at minus
exactly where I would have
153.
it.
Yeah.
That's literally where I would have it at. But the point being is like if they kept it at minus 170, the public is flowing in on the
Yeah.
Giants because of the last few games that
It'll
they've
drop it
played.
down to 160 anyway.
Right, exactly. So I think Vegas opened this up knowing where the public was gonna come in, and I think the minus 150 is super tremendous value.
Absolutely.
Um,
What's your second play?
I'm gonna go Cardinals Cubs under 8 on this play. Oh, wait, I
Oh,
already
yeah.
gave that out,
That
didn't
was your first one. We did one
I?
down?
Yeah. We're gonna go Rangers Tigers over 9.5. Fun fact: I'm tweeting this out to my VIP right now.
Love that.
Um,
Love that. I have that as a lean.
I think this is going to be a very interesting game between the two. I think both teams have showed out decently enough in this series. I do project that the Tigers will still win this, but it's not going to be without a hard fought battle from the Rangers. I see a lot of runs being scored, and Vegas would tend to agree with me in the same sense that they have moved the line positively towards the over. And it's sitting at minus 105 for the over 9.5 at certain places, minus 110 overall. I'm going to just bring up some bet money percentages. Okay, I'm not going to bring them up because I don't like it. Apparently, the under is getting more love money wise than the bets are. But, you see them. It's only a slight correction after they had a 14-0 game against the Tiger or against the Range or Tigers had a 14-0 game against the Rangers
Against Kyle Gibson, no less.
yeah, and it was at a total of 9, and then they kept it at 9, which was very interesting to see for me. And then they scored 5, and so I won't lie, this is semi like toss up, like I mean, it's a slight correction to the over. Do I think the Tigers necessarily have another 14-0 game? I don't think so. Do I think the Rangers drop 3 in a row? Without a fight, no, because they dropped one 14-0, and then they dropped the other 4-1. I think they're going to put up a decent fight. I still don't think they'll win, but I do see them putting up a fight, and that I think will help us get to the over. I could potentially see this going like 4-4 into extras, and
Yeah,
then
I
at
like
that
that.
point, even maybe potentially, like even if it's like 5-4 going into the top of the eighth, I think that's a cash.
Yeah.
Because I do expect some of these bullpens to give up a couple of runs, and so I mean that's what I'm really banking on is like a 4-4 going into extras or 5-4 going top of eighth, and I can easily see that happening. So I like just over 9.5 here. That's going to be my second play. And you said you leaned it, right? What
Yeah,
was
I
your
leaned
purpose
it,
for
and
leaning it?
the reason I leaned it is actually it's on a different path. Both first of all, to your point though, both teams have been hitting probably. I mean, the Rangers maybe not so much. The Tigers are hitting the best they're going to hit all season.
Right.
They're like peaking at this point with their runs, and it's time to capitalize on their totals. But for me, this game total came down to the pitchers because you look at the matchup of Jordan Lyles versus Matt Manning. Both of them have Ks per nine of under 7 and walks per nine of over 3.
Right.
Both of them allow over 10 hits per 9, and both of them allow over 1.2 homers per 9. And these are two teams that do not have good bullpens. So if they start poorly, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, these are still MLB players at the plate. It doesn't matter if they're swinging the bat well or poorly. If someone's pitching poorly and giving you good pitches to hit, you're going to be able to hit them.
Right.
So I think that neither of these two starters last 5. I don't think either of them get to the 5th inning even. And I think that this is a bullpen game of guys that are just here's what I think. I think at the end of the game, we'll see a position player throw a pitch. That's how many runs I think are going to be scored this game.
Okay, well, I really like your confidence in that because that makes me feel a lot more comfortable. You caught me off guard with that, but that was pretty funny.
It would be a great thing. And also, like, I don't know, the Tigers are hitting the ball so well, and maybe the Rangers might not be, but even
because
so,
of the Rangers.
yeah,
I mean,
Matt Manning, as good of a prospect as he may be, has come out looking poor, very poor. Jordan Lyles has never looked good.
Right.
And the thing for me, another thing, is there are 6 lefties in the Texas Rangers bullpen, mostly at a time. I think that might be 5 now. They might have sent somebody down, but 6 lefties. You have a team that has guys like Jonathan Scope and Robbie Grossman who hit lefties very well. Grossman switch hits because of that. They're both on fire, even though I think Scope may have had a 10-day stint. I just have a lot of confidence in these right-handed hitters if the left-handed bullpen decides to come into play.
No, I agree with you entirely on that point too. I don't know. It'll be an interesting game to see for sure because I am a Rangers fan. If I'm technically a fan of MLB teams, usually my fan base really just stays in basketball and football.
Go Texas!
It's gonna be an interesting game. Again, and the thing I've always said this about the Rangers many times before, it's that some days they'll just come out and look like a contender. They're not a contender by any means. They're a very poor team, very poorly managed. But every now and then they'll have this one game where they just come out, bats flying, pitching going great, and they will look like contenders. And you never know when that's going to happen. So I always usually whenever I'm taking a Rangers over, I always feel a little bit more comfortable because it could just be a game where they put up 10 runs by themselves.
I might bet Joey Gallo player props now that I'm thinking about it.
I mean, it just could be that way.
Joey Gallo, Adolis Garcia show?
Tigers, yeah. With the poor pitching with the Tigers, I mean, Gallo should be able to hit his props, and it could just be a game for them. They haven't had a game in a while. The Rangers
Absolutely.
haven't. So it could be a game for them. I already gave out my 2. Did you give out a second? No, you didn't.
I have 2 more. One is a stronger play than the other, and that's the game that I was supposed to go to. That's starting in about 11 minutes. Right. The Washington Nationals. I got them at minus 145 as soon as they announced the starting pitchers because the Miami starting pitcher was not announced until about 4 p.m. When it was announced, it opened at about Washington minus 145. That's where I got it. It's now about minus 160. I'd still take it because I actually like it all the way up to 200. Miami has been hitting like one of the worst teams in the league. Their pitching has saved them a lot. If you look at a lot of their totals, it's actually gone under in a lot of games that they've won because they're pitching like Sandy Alcantara, Pablo Lopez, and Trevor Rogers. They've been able to control that first part of the rotation. But once you get past that, it gets ugly fast. They can't hit, and past those 3 guys, they can't really pitch either. Their bullpen is not stronger than the Nationals' bullpen, which is saying a lot because the Nationals don't really have studs coming out of there, regardless of the fact that they're about league average in that category. I just see one team that's absolutely thriving in the Washington Nationals. Yes, they've lost a couple games, but they lost games against the Dodgers going into the All-Star break. I mean, is that such a big deal? Is that such a problem? And also, we already discussed how hot the Dodgers have been. So, hot team going up against hot team does not necessarily mean one cools off. It just means fireworks. So, I think Washington comes and blows out Miami here in Nationals Park in a game that I was supposed to go to. And I don't necessarily think it's close. They're throwing out Nick Neidert on the mound against Eric Fedde. And I'm not going to, this is not saying Eric Fedde is necessarily anything special, but Nick Neidert has had a horrible last calendar year. If you look at his numbers, let me pull them up really quick. He has only 5 strikeouts per 9, and he averages almost 5 walks per 9. That's never a good sign when you walk as many guys as you strike out. The numbers get a lot worse. I don't have to go into them. Eric Fedde is a better pitcher than he is. Right. And if they have to go to the bullpen, I feel like they're already pretty taxed. I just don't necessarily think that this ends well for Miami unless they're able to jump out early. Right. But even if they are, can they hold the lead with the guys they have going on the mound tonight? I just don't necessarily know. I like Washington at this number with their hot bats.
Okay. I like that too. And you said you had a third play?
I do. And this is not necessarily as strong a play because I think that the Cardinals bullpen is absolute garbage, especially after that 6-run blowout inning in the 9th yesterday. I still like the Cardinals for a bounce back win today. I think at minus 125 with Adam Wainwright on the mound, we have to realize how good Adam Wainwright's been this season. And I understand Kyle Hendricks has been good, but the most deceiving stat in baseball for pitchers is wins. That just means that the bats were good for that team that day. Right. It doesn't mean he pitched well. Yes, Kyle Hendricks is 12-4, but he also has worse numbers than Adam Wainwright. Adam Wainwright has more strikeout stuff, while Kyle Hendricks pitches to contact more. Pitching to contact inevitably leads to more homers than pitching to strikeouts. Right. I like this. I see this game going under, as you were talking about. So it's really going to be who can get the valuable runs. And when you look at who's in the lineup for the Cardinals, they have guys who can steal bases like Tommy Edman, like Harrison Bader, like Tyler O'Neill, sack flies, bunts, tagging up on short fly balls. All these things can get the 1 or 2 crucial runs that they need to win this game. I think they are way more capable of that than this dysfunctional Cubs lineup right now that, frankly, doesn't seem to know what they're doing on either side of the mound or the ball.
So I don't have an official play on it, but I do lean the Cardinals here as well.
Absolutely.
For more or less the same purposes that you said, or the same reasons you said. I just think the Cardinals, and especially because it's a revenge spot for them. I mean, given that they have some veteranship in the locker room and everything of that sort, you give up 6 runs and some teams aren't able to brush it off that easily. And they lose all momentum and kind of get into this slump because they make an error or mistake. I don't think the Cardinals are one of those teams. I think, they gave up 6 runs. They're going to come back out here to make another statement and say, that was a fluke. We're much different than what it seemed to be the last game. That being said, I do expect the Cardinals to be very aggressive today. But again, I don't see a lot of runs being scored here, but I do see the Cardinals being significantly much more aggressive than the Cubs. And I think you're right. I think that 1 or 2 crucial runs that needs to be scored, I think the Cardinals have line up to do just that, and in order to do just that and win the game by a very tiny margin. So I like the money line position.
I'm thinking like a 3-2 or a 2-1 kind of game.
And that would be perfect. I mean, because I cash my under too.
That's what I'm saying. And I think if I look at this matchup here, I can see versus Kyle Hendricks, there has been some good history for the Cardinals. Nolan Arenado in 24 plate at-bats has batted .333, Harrison Bader .278, Dylan Carlson .273. So when guys like Nolan Arenado have good history, especially the way he's been hitting, I don't know if you saw how he hit against the Giants. He's one of the big Giant killers because he played for the Rockies back in the day. And him and Paul Goldschmidt were teeing off. They were having a great time. So I don't see why that would stop, even if it's against Kyle Hendricks, because they have good histories against him.
Right. That's another interesting fact that I was not aware of. So, that being said, I never tweeted out the link. My bad. So we don't have any viewers right now.
Neither did I. It's okay. You can get them to watch before 7. They can get the pick.
Yeah. So with that being said, let's try to end this. Do you have any leans or any other things you want to talk about? Or
funnily enough, the only other lean I had was the second game of San Diego, Atlanta going over 8, and it's already at 9 runs because they've played 3 innings already. So Nice little cash there for me. Sorry,
Yeah.
guys, didn't get there in time.
All right, guys. Whoever's watching or whoever will watch, thanks for watching, and we appreciate your
Appreciate it.
love and support. And hopefully, we're able to bring you some Wednesday. And next time, I'll remember to tweet out the link so you can tune in on time. Sorry about that, but once again, thank you for your love and support. We really appreciate it. So, good luck to your bets.
Wager